Right now on Our Indiana, the IU men's soccer team shutout streak comes to an end, but a late goal from the Hoosiers kept their undefeated season intact.
And basketball season is right around the corner. Hoosier Hysteria took place Saturday. We'll dive into both the men's and women's teams and how we expect them to fare this season.
All that and more coming up on Our Indiana. Hello and welcome to Our Indiana. I'm Mackenzie, Salmon.
And I'm Zain, Pyarali.
Our first story tonight, the #1 ranked IU men's soccer team traveled to Indianapolis Wednesday to take on in-state rival Butler. IU men's soccer team remains undefeated, but tied for the third time this season against number 19 Butler. With freshman goalkeeper Trey Muse racking up 3 saves, the Hoosiers added to the team's shutout streak of 9 straight games, totaling 889 minutes. The Bulldogs and Hoosiers took 8 shots apiece for the game, but neither could find the back of the net, with the game ending 0-0. After tying in overtime Wednesday night, Indiana was tested again on Saturday against Wisconsin on senior night, but this time they were able to win the game.
Grant Lillard.
Senior center back Grant Lillard has seen a lot in his 4 years at IU. But tonight, in his final home game, a 2-1 win over Wisconsin, it was a roller coaster of emotions.
Coming away with a win like that's probably one of my favorite wins I've been a part of.
For much of the season, it's been the freshman forward scoring for Indiana, and tonight was no different. Freshman Griffin set the tone with a goal in the second minute. But then in the second half, IU saw its shutout streak of 966 minutes come to a close.
Obviously a little communication error in the back line and with Trey. But that said, I mean, the sequence earlier in the game with Trey's 3 saves in a row, I don't know if I've seen something like that, quite honestly. I'd have to see that on replay.
It was senior night here at Yeagley Field, but according to Coach, the freshmen were the ones looking to provide the special moment for the seniors as Mason Toy scored in the 109th minute to give the Hoosiers the win over Wisconsin tonight.
It's surreal. I don't really have any words for it. It's just crazy how the season's going. Coming into this, I couldn't have imagined it being like this and we're going so well. So I'm just going to try to live in the moment right now and just enjoy it.
Senior night, and here we have a freshman that can make a play. And we said that before the game. The best way to honor tonight is through, letting the seniors smile tonight.
Mason stepping up and making that play is just unbelievable. He's been doing it all year long for us, but doing it on that type of stage in this type of game where it's championship on the line for us, it's unbelievable, especially coming from a freshman.
But for Grant Lillard and the rest of the senior class, the season isn't over just yet. IU travels to Michigan State next weekend before beginning the Big Ten tournament and eventually their quest for a 9th national championship. For Our Indiana, I'm Mackenzie, Salmon.
After taking number 17 Michigan into overtime last weekend, the IU football team traveled to East Lansing this week to face off against the number 18 Michigan State Spartans. The Hoosiers holding on to that brass platoon after last year's upset win at home against the Spartans, and early on the defense was great. There's Chris Covington getting a tackle for loss on L.J. Scott, and then late first quarter, Tony Fields knocks that one loose from the ball carrier. Jonathan Crawford recovers it. Indiana would end up getting a field goal off that. Second quarter, the IU defense still playing strong, shuts MSU down in the red zone to make it 3-3 at halftime. Third quarter, Peyton Ramsey finds Jay Shun Harris over the middle for the first down. Ramsey 22 of 34 passing on the day, but just 158 yards to show for and no touchdowns. IU would get a field goal, go up 6-3. Now fourth quarter, Ramsey back to pass, finds Morgan Ellison for a first down, but this drive, like many others, would end in an Indiana field goal. 6 minutes left in the game, the Spartans find their offense. Lewerke connects with Felton Davis to go up 1, and then with under 2 minutes to play, L.J. Scott follows his blockers and walks into the end zone. The Spartans would win 17-9, and Indiana drops to 3-4 on the year. For more on this loss, here's IU head coach Tom Allen.
Highly disappointed. Really thought our kids played their hearts out. So proud of their effort and their toughness and the grit that they showed throughout the game. And really, man, just getting near the end there, you got to finish. To go on the road against this opponent in this venue, tough place to play, and top 20 team, and had our chance. and let them off the hook. So that's on us. It's on me as head coach. Take responsibility for that, and we're just really proud of our team.
Tom Allen upset with his team's inability to finish on the road against a top 20 team, but one player who has been able to shine all season long has been Jay-Shun Harris on special teams. For more on that, we send it over to Joe Canner for Why It Worked.
Thanks, guys. It's no secret that Indiana football has one of the top special teams units in the country, and that's thanks in large part to the explosiveness of their punt returner, Jay-Shun Harris. Harris has the second most punt return touchdowns of anyone in Division I college football, and the fourth most average yards per return. Now, we're going to take a closer look at both of Harris's return touchdowns, and I'll explain to you why they worked. Now here we take a look at Jay-Shun's return, this one against Virginia. Now you see here Harris gets to the right and finds a few key blocks from teammates. The lane to the end zone opens like the Red Sea, and Harris left Virginia seeing red in the desert, scratching their heads on how to cover him. On to the Georgia Southern game. The first mistake that they made this score possible was the low driving punt. Gives Harris a full head of steam, makes a few men miss, and again with a few key blocks and Harris's speed, he finds himself quickly ahead of all the defenders with nothing but green grass between him and pay dirt. Harris is truly explosive, and with blockers unselfish, with that natural talent coupled with a chip on his shoulder from returning from not one, but 2 torn ACLs, it's safe to say we haven't seen the last big run from Jay-Shun. Well, folks, that was Why It Worked. Zain and Mackenzie, back to you guys at the desk.
IU volleyball riding an 8-game losing streak before Friday night when Rutgers came into Bloomington. The Hoosiers and Scarlet Knights were searching for their first Big Ten win of the year, and the Hoosiers finally prevailed in 5 sets. Deja Lofton led the way for Indiana, racking up 12 kills on 30 total chances, but senior Jessica Leash came off the bench for IU and nabbed 10 kills of her own. Indiana wins its first Big Ten match of the year 3-2 over Rutgers.
IU's winning streak came to an end Saturday against number 1 Penn State, despite leading the opening set 11-7. The Hoosiers fell in 3 sets with redshirt sophomore Kendall Bierman and freshman Cameron Malloy recording 7 kills each. IU now holds a record of 12-10 on the season and 1-9 in conference. Next up on the road at Maryland this Friday, followed by a Saturday game at Ohio State. The Hoosiers do not return home until November 10th against Wisconsin.
Indiana women's soccer took on number 25 Rutgers Saturday night, fighting for a trip to the Big Ten tournament. The teams evenly matched through the first 90 minutes, 0-0 heading into overtime, but 5 minutes into the extra time, Brittany LaPlante headed it past Bethany Copel for the game winner, and Indiana's postseason hopes vanish as they fall to the Scarlet Knights.
In their final regular season road game, IU field hockey battled against number 24 Ohio State Buckeyes on Friday, but fell short in a 2-1 loss. IU freshman Bente Buwalda started the game by banking her second goal of the season off an assist by sophomore Sheridan Weiss. The Buckeyes fired back in the second half, tying the game 1-1. Ohio State's offense didn't let up as senior Maddie Humphrey penetrated IU's defense in the 58th minute to score the game-winning goal. The Hoosiers' losing streak continued on Saturday as they fell to number 6 Penn State 7-1. The Nittany Lions were able to score early on with Myra Putsch netting the team's first 2 goals of the game and eventually completing the hat trick. The score didn't stop for Penn State as they tallied 7 goals against the Hoosiers until finally Kelsey Geis was able to put the team on the board off a hard hit from the top of the circle. The Big Ten field hockey tournament begins next weekend with the number 9 seed Hoosiers playing 8 seed Ohio State on October 27th in Ann Arbor at Michigan's Ocker Field.
The IU men's and women's swimming and diving teams started their season this past weekend, taking on University of Florida and defending national champions Texas in Gainesville. The number 6 Indiana men went 2-0 on the weekend, beating both the Longhorns and the Gators, while the number 10 women went 1-1, beating Florida but falling to Texas. Senior Blake Peroni led the way for the men, winning both the 100 and 200 freestyle, and Ian Finnerty won the 200 breaststroke. For the women, Lily King took home first place in the 200 breast, and senior Allie Rocket won the 50 free. Sophomore Shelby Kuntz also touched the wall first in the 200 butterfly. Coming up next, we'll review this Saturday's main event, Hoosier Hysteria.
And broadcasters Eddie Cotton and Griffin Weinberg join us on Cream v. Crimson. Stay tuned.
wouldn't be here if it weren't for Indiana University.
Welcome back to Our Indiana.
Excitement was in the air Saturday afternoon for fans and players alike as Hoosier Hysteria marked the unofficial beginning of the 2017-2018 season for women's basketball. Our Indiana's Dan Black has more.
Fans began lining up as early as 6 a.m. to get a prime seat to see their Hoosiers. Once they settled in, Hoosier Nation got their first glimpse of some old faces and some new ones. They were then treated to a three-point contest, which featured seniors Amanda Cahill and Tyra Buss.
I'm really excited to watch the seniors this season. I'm really good friends with Amanda Cahill. She's my super good friend. We have lots of classes together. So just to see them succeed this year and make it to the tournament.
Buss raved about her Hysteria experience, her final at IU.
So it's such a great experience, especially for our younger ones that haven't experienced it yet. So it was great once again, and I'm happy that it was my last one, and I went out on top.
One of the big questions of tonight would be how the 8 newcomers would respond to being in Assembly Hall for the first time in front of such a ruckus crowd. But the actual experience was so much more.
Oh wow, it was crazy. I can't even explain the feeling. The fire was so hot, and just hearing everyone screaming and stuff, it was great.
The Hoosiers will officially begin their season Monday, November 6th at 7 p.m. when they host Gannon University, so make sure you come out and support all your Hoosier ladies. For Our Indiana, I'm Dan Black.
Back here in the studio now with Dan Black. Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill are in their final seasons here in Bloomington. What can we expect out of those two seniors this year?
Well, there's plenty of high expectations for them. They're the only 2 seniors on the team, and with a team full of 8 newcomers, 5 of which are freshmen, there's a ton of pressure on them to be the leaders and to really carry the team throughout the season.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about those 8 new players. 8 of the 12 new players on the roster are either freshmen or transfer. So how big of a factor do you think that'll be this season?
Well, I think it's definitely going to be a big factor, especially at the beginning of the season. Building that chemistry. I mean, they did all go to Italy together and play 3 exhibition games, so that obviously helps. Having that camaraderie on the court and then obviously off the court, just always being together, that always helps. But the fact that they're going to not have that much depth because, as you said, five are freshmen, the rest are transfers, 2 of which can't even play because of the transfer rule. So you're just limiting yourself to, 10 players. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of things, a lot of kinks to work out early. But I think with the talent they brought in, the majority of the freshmen are top 100 players. So there's plenty of talent. It's just about being able to mold them and get them ready to play college basketball.
So finally, this team made the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. Last year missed out, but they made a deep run in the NIT. Where do we see them finishing this season?
Well, like we said, it's going to be it's going to probably be a difficult start to the season because there's so many new faces going on, a lot of things to figure out. And it's not going to be an easy schedule once they get to the Big Ten because they had to play Maryland, Ohio State, and Michigan, who are the top 3 teams in the women's Big Ten. And they had to play them 4 times, 3 of which on the road. So that's going to be a huge test. So depending on how Amanda Cahill and Tyra Buss can play this year and lead this team, they could go into the tournament and make a deep run.
All right, thanks, Dan, for your time. And now as we flip to the men's side, I was at Hoosier Hysteria Saturday to get a first look at the team with Archie Miller now running the show. This event is all about the fans, the moments, and bringing in the new college basketball season. For first-year head coach Archie Miller, he had been waiting for the day to hear this Assembly Hall crowd roar, but knows there's challenges ahead for his team this season.
But I'll promise you right now, with who they are as people, how they've accepted, embraced our change, it's going to give us a chance to have some special moments down the line. But we're going to need you every single night, all the way to the final buzzer.
The highlight of the night was the dunk contest. Freshmen Clifton Moore and Justin Smith showed off their athletic ability, but in the end it was returners Freddie McSwain Jr. and Curtis Jones who put themselves ahead of the competition. And Jones even got a little help from his roommates. to win the contest.
We're just being creative, and Duran helped me think of it, and then he threw the pass, so it's fun.
While the introductions, three-point contest, and dunk contest were all fun and entertaining, the Hoosiers then got down to business as they faced off against each other for a 24-minute scrimmage and found out they still have a lot of work to do before the regular season begins.
First, keeping the turnovers down as much as possible, getting out, running the transition, and defensively playing well. I think we played good defensively. I think we could definitely cut down the turnovers and just work on playing as a team.
While the event was a success as a whole for the fans and prospective IU recruits, the team now has 6 days till they get on the floor against a different opponent when they play Marion in the first exhibition of the year. For our Indiana, I'm Zain Pyarali.
Hoosier Hysteria was full of flair and fun, but what should we expect out of both the men's and women's teams this season?
Griffin, Weinberg, and Eddie Cotton broadcasted the event Saturday, and now they're with us in studio on this edition of Cream v. Crimson.
For both joining us today. We really appreciate having you guys on. Now, both of you guys broadcasted the Hoosier Hysteria game this past Saturday. What were some of the main takeaways you guys saw from the matchup?
I thought it was just nice to see the fans come out there, because that was the first time that this team was in Assembly Hall and it was pretty much full. So, that was really nice to see. And then, it's the first look at the freshmen, really just the first overall look at the team. That's the first time that we got to see them out on the court and actually get to play. So it was just a fun event. It was a fun atmosphere. That's what you want from Hoosier Hysteria, and that was really a big part of it.
Yeah, I would definitely add on to those sentiments. What Hoosier Hysteria is all about is establishing a precedent for how the season's going to go on and how you want to be perceived in front of the fans. First Hoosier Hysteria for Archie Miller, and he got out there, and he was stern, and he was quick and concise, and something we did not see in the Tom Crean era. He spoke for 3 minutes, and I myself was in awe of him. So that was the precedent I looked for, and I appreciate it.
You had like a Hawkeye on him the whole time, didn't you?
A little bit. A wee bit.
So I want to ask you guys about this sophomore class. Curtis Jones won the dunk contest Saturday. How do we see him, Devontae Green, and Deron Davis all shaping up in year 2 for this IU team?
Devontae Green is the guy who you're really going to want to look out for this year. Last year he played about a little over 15 minutes per game. He wasn't really scoring too much and doing too much with the offense, but I feel like he came in with the mentality this year where it's all right, new coach, new system, new everything, forget about last year. I'm going to go out and do me. That's exactly what he did. I see him as a guy who's probably going to be playing around 25 minutes per game, something like that. He could honestly be a starting guard too. He just ran the offense so well during the scrimmage. He did everything right, and he just looked really probably like the best player who was out on the court. So his transition in the offseason was really good. And then Deron Davis, he really stepped up big too, especially his transition in the offseason.
Yeah, he made a huge transition this offseason. He lost about 22 pounds, dropped down to 12% body fat, which seems almost impossible in an entire offseason. And he's so much leaner, much more mobile on his feet. And you noticed it during the scrimmage. Devontae Green obviously played a huge role, like you mentioned. But Deron Davis just sat in the post, and they fed him, and they fed him, and they fed him. And so those two guys really showed signs of what Archie Miller's going to try and do, because his offense is feed the post and kick, feed the post and kick, and that's what they showed. And it's going to be Deron Davis because no one else can do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the offense this year it's going to run through Deron Davis. I think that the team is going to go as high as he can take them. And I don't know how many points or rebounds. I don't know what he's going to be doing there, but he looks good. He looks a lot stronger. He's playing at that same weight that he did about in high school when he was a top 50 recruit coming out of Colorado. So he's going to have a really big year.
Well, last thing I have for you guys, Archie Miller's first season here at IU. IU missed out on the tournament last season, so where do we see them finishing this year?
It's going to be hard to tell early on. They got picked 9th in the Big Ten preseason poll by the media members in the Big Ten. You just don't know. You don't know until you actually see the team play a full game. So, for all we know, they could be a Final Four team with the way they play. Otherwise it could be another NIT year or miss out on postseason play completely. I really don't know. I think it's really going to all depend on how high Deron Davis can take this team. Will Devontae Green step up like we've seen him in the offseason? How is Robert Johnson going to play? Because his points per game has increased every single year that he's been here, and last year was his best year. Now he's going to be expected to take on a bigger role. How is Colin Hartman going to be coming off of this injury? We just don't really know. So it's going to be hard to make an exact prediction right now, but it could be anywhere with this team.
the predictions that we've seen and the projections all come from paper. So you look at the roster, you're like, all right, this is not a very talented team. The thing with Archie Miller that differentiates him from a lot of other coaches is he knows how to coach with crap, to be blatantly honest. That's what he did at Dayton. He took teams that weren't that great, and they won games in the tournament. And that's what I'm looking at them. I look for them to kind of go beyond what their talent ceiling is per se, but not do much more than that. So you're looking, I think, at a bubble team. I think they barely make the tournament, and I think that's something that if you're an IU fan, be on cloud nine for. Yeah. Because the team talent-wise is not there. But in the future it will be. And then Archie has to actually meet expectations that are Final Four and championship. I have no idea if he could do that, but I think he could take a team that's not that great and make them okay.
Yeah, like if there's any postseason play at all from Indiana, then Indiana fans should be happy. Even if it's just the NIT, you have to be happy about that because I don't think anyone is really expecting them to get into postseason play at the beginning of this year. But you just don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can only hope for the best, but thank you, Griffin and Eddie, again for joining us. We really appreciate it. That was this episode of Cream v. Crimson. Now we fast forward and take a look at IU's events this upcoming week with Alex Imhoff.
Thanks, guys. Well, it's everyone's favorite time of the year when we get to see fall and winter sports overlap. Let's get to it. IU field hockey snuck its way into the Big Ten tournament after finishing a season without a Big Ten win and 6-12 as their overall record. The number 9 seed Hoosiers will face the number 8 seed Ohio State Buckeyes in the first round of the Big Ten tournament Friday at 3 o'clock at Michigan State University's Ralph Young Field. While Friday is for field hockey, we all know what Saturdays are for. That's right, college football. The Hoosiers will travel to College Park to face the Maryland Terrapins in a must-win Big Ten matchup. The effort IU football has put forth on the field this season has not yet translated into conference wins, but with their 3-4 record, it's time for the Hoosiers to break through. Keep an eye out for IU's Chris Covington. On Saturday, the senior linebacker is coming off of a career-high 11 tackles, 6 of which were solos, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack against the Spartans last weekend. Be sure to catch your Hoosiers on BTN at 3:30 Saturday afternoon. As fall sports transition into the winter, the Hoosiers are already dominating in the pool. IU swimming and diving season kicked off with a dominating team win in Gainesville against the Gators and the Longhorns last weekend. And they hope to use that momentum as they travel to Knoxville, Tennessee to take on the Kentucky Wildcats and the number 18 Tennessee Volunteers. Last but certainly not least, IU men's basketball will kick off their season at home with an exhibition game against Marian University on Saturday. The game will tip off at 8 p.m. inside Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Be sure to catch Coach Archie Miller in his Indiana coaching debut. The game will be broadcast on BTN Plus and, as always, the IU Radio Network. That's all I have for you this week, but of course, if you miss any of the action, you can always find it on IUHoosiers.com. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Alex. Well, that does it for this episode of Our Indiana. I'm Mackenzie Salmon.
And I'm Zain Pyarali. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.